I recently put out my top 10 rankings for each of the main positions on social media, and a few people had some question marks, some concerns, and wanted to express their opinions about my top 10 rankings. So I decided to make a video to kind of explain a lot of my rankings, really focus on the top 10 and go a little bit beyond the top 10, and my reasoning behind why I have some guys higher than the expert consensus and ADP, and why I have some guys lower. What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my 2019 fantasy football rankings, and I might be doing an updated video of this maybe in about a month, if I have time. By the way, if you want to see my rankings and follow along, you can always find them at fantasycouch.com/rankings, whether it be the updated digital copy or my top 300 printable cheat sheet. They'll always be on there. They'll always be freshly updated and will always be free. Let's start off with the quarterback. The number one comment I got about my top 10 quarterbacks was Jameis Winston. I ranked him way too high at number 7, and here's my reasoning. Because the upside is there. Did you know that the Buccaneers actually led the league last year in passing yards? 5,125 passing yards. Number one team last year. And this year, the Buccaneers actually have a real coach. There's not much of a backup pushing Winston out of there. He has been a clown on and off the field, Jameis, that is. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's made some dumb mistakes in life, off the field. He's made some dumb mistakes throwing You see him pushing the ball down the field, making great plays, being a gunslinger, and then he just throws some of the stupidest interceptions I've ever seen. No doubt that's there. The floor is pretty bad, but the upside is so high. In fantasy, I'm always trying to find the younger, newer player that's going to take over, and usually it is a younger player. The older players, they fall off a lot of times. They fall off a cliff or they have a decline. Sometimes they might have a resurgence, but it's only for 1 year, like Reggie Wayne. We saw Larry Fitzgerald fall off last year. Maybe he'll have one more good year. That's probably all he really has in the tank. So I like to look at what's going to happen next. I'm not afraid to take risks. And also, when you take a risk like this, you can get Jameis Winston sometimes in round 13. Like, his ADP is often going double-digit rounds. I mean, you can get him so late. It's like, you know, you can say he's risky, but when you're in the double-digit rounds, there's almost no risk involved. Like, it's basically a flyer. So you can get Jameis Winston so late that it won't even affect your team. You're never going to need to draft Jameis Winston as your QB1. With that being said, that doesn't mean that I had to rank him this high, but I think his upside is that high. And the number 2 thing I got, which goes from my number 7 QB to my number 8, is Matt Ryan. And people are like, you're disrespecting Matt Ryan. You know, he was a top 2 QB last year. I guess in some leagues could have been a top 3 QB. He played very well, had some injuries, the Falcons did. And look, I get that. And he was really great that 1 year when they blew the Super Bowl lead 28-3. He had a really good year last year as well. But I think we've seen the best of Matt Ryan. We already seen that. Don't take that the wrong way. It's not like saying he sucks or he's going to fall off a cliff. No, he's not at that age yet. He's still on a good team. He's still going to be really good. He's proven. I have no problem with you drafting Matt Ryan. You could draft him as the 6th quarterback off the board. That's okay. We know what we're getting with Matt Ryan. He's going to be a really good QB. Me, I'd rather wait later and get a guy like Jameis Winston. Sometimes people are sleeping on Drew Brees as well, my number 9 QB. Drew Brees is a legend, man. He put the city on his back, Hurricane Katrina, and won a Super Bowl that year. Straight up legend. On a good team, good head coach, good O-line, one of the most accurate passers, especially in the intermediate game. Could be the most accurate passer I've ever seen in that intermediate game to ever play the game. This guy is that good. And what I've seen with Drew Brees that other people that I've talked to really didn't see the same thing is that they needed a third option in the pass game. And they finally got one in Jared Cook this year. I'm a huge Jared Cook believer. They really wanted a tight end. Like, Drew Brees like, please give me a tight end to throw the ball to. Like, Josh Hill's not cutting it. He hasn't had a good tight end since Jimmy Graham left. And now I think he has one. And Jared Cook's going to be likewise. Like, I'm finally in the offense that I like, that fits me. I'm finally playing with a good quarterback, and I'm healthy. Going from Derek Carr to Drew Brees is going to be amazing. Like, Jared Cook's out there catching passes going, wow, this is so cool. Catching passes from Drew Brees instead of, playing in Oakland. So Brees would often go to Mike Thomas. Even when Mike Thomas was doubled, he could still fit the ball in those tight windows and go to him. If not, he'd go to Kamara. But other than that, there was no targets to go to. Now, you do have that third option. And dare I say, there's a realistic chance a wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 3 can emerge. There was no wide receiver 2 last year. Ted Ginn didn't play much, was in and out, and he's aging. And then we have Traquan Smith, who's like a younger Ted Ginn, but he was a rookie. Maybe he takes a step forward his second year. Another wide receiver could emerge. And to further prove my point, I mean, you could go ahead and watch the film. You can look at the stats. Just look who was targeted and look who was targeted on third downs. Like, the evidence, the stat supports what I'm saying. But another thing you can look at for evidence that there was no third target in the pass game was just the wide receivers and tight ends they were starting. Like, they were starting this guy named Carr, Kirkwood. I can't even remember these names. They're starting guys who are like wide receiver, tight end hybrids. One week they would start a certain group of receivers, and the next group, 2 or 3 of those guys would be healthy scratches. Like, that's how desperate they were to find a wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3, even wide receiver 2 at times. Got a little ahead of myself. So Jameis Winston with Bruce Arians, man, he has all the upsides. This is Jameis Winston. He is an upside quarterback. He is a gunslinger. Remember when he came into the league with Marcus Mariota and it was like, okay, these two are good. We know the deal now. We know what's going on. Jameis Winston pushes the ball down the field. He always had that potential. Always. He has the arm strength. And the Bucs defense absolutely sucks. They're going to need to throw the ball. The upside is 100% there. This is one of the best QB2s you can take. Speaking of QB2s with upside, we have Kyler Murray. I have him as my QB10, and a lot of people were like, how could you not have Wentz as your top 10, this and that? Hey, I'd rather take Kyler Murray, get him super late. In some leagues, people are on him, drafting him kind of early, maybe like round 9, sometimes even round 8, maybe round 10, but you can get him later in a lot of drafts, maybe round 11 or even after that. Guys, 640 rush yards. If he just gets 640 rush yards, that's equivalent to 4 bonus. I'm called 4 extra fantasy points compared to a guy like Phillip Rivers who's going to get you like 0 rush yards. 640 rush yards, conservative projection, is going to get you 4 extra fantasy points per game. Kyler Murray, there will be some inconsistencies. There will be some woes. His schedule isn't that terrible. That type of offense he's in is a good fit for him. They're going to run a lot of plays, really high tempo, and a large, vast majority of those plays are going to be passing plays. And of course, you're going to see the man run. He's going to be scrambling. My one concern with Kyler Murray, and it's significant, it's not what other people are saying, like his height or this and that. I'm not even worried about Cliff Kingsbury's offense. I don't even care. You're going to be throwing the ball that many times. You're going to get me some fantasy points. You're going to be that fast of an athlete, that amazing of an athlete. You're going to get me some rushing yards, sprinkle in a few rushing touchdowns. You're going to get me those points. What I am worried, though, is his size. I mean, he looks like a regular civilian, right? And his weight, what is it, 209 or 207, whatever his weight is. I think he may have drank a lot of water and bulked up just for the weigh-in. He looks like a normal guy. He looks like he weighs like 195 or 190, like if that. And so I am worried about his durability, running all those plays. And that O-line is horrible. Hopefully he's able to avoid all those hits, those big hits, and avoid injury. If he's going to be able to do that and stay healthy 16 games, I'm down to risk it all. With Kyler Murray, we're going for first place. We're not going for 6th place or 7th place. Don't be scared. Go for the gusto. I'm not going to flip out if you take Carson Wentz as the 9th quarterback off the board. That's totally fine. And this goes along with the whole theme of quarterbacks. It's the deepest we've ever seen in fantasy this year. Sure, wide receiver is deep, but it's been like that for 5+ years. This year, quarterbacks are super deep. Lamar Jackson, if he could learn how to throw the ball a little better, man, this guy could finish as a QB1. Josh Allen, same thing. Jimmy Garoppolo, he can be pretty good this year if he can stay healthy. He needs to fix up some of his mistakes, but I'm still a Jimmy Garoppolo believer. He can even finish QB1. Derek Carr, very undervalued. He was just making the Pro Bowl not too long ago, and now the Raiders invested the most out of any team during the offseason with their receiving core. They got like, 5-6 new wide receivers? They went crazy. They got this guy weapons. They got the best wide receiver in the game in real life, in my opinion, in Antonio Brown. Sure, the risk is there, but Derek Carr is going in round 15. Like, you can get him for free. He's going undrafted in most leagues. Like, it's deep. It's so deep. And so I'm ranking Carson Wentz number 11 because we never really seen this happen. Like, we've always, what have we seen? You know, people could say Carson Wentz was on pace to be MVP or this. Like, he wasn't, though. He didn't, though. What happened was Nick Foles came and saved the franchise. Nick Foles came and saved the team every year. That's what we've actually seen. You can use stats to make any point you want. Like, I just used the 5,125 yards to make my point. Maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe a lot of that was Ryan Fitzmagic. But I think it fairly does point out the upside that Jameis has. The upside is there with Wentz, but we've never seen it. And there's so many question marks now. Alshon Jeffrey, not quite the wide receiver we thought a few years ago on the Bears when he had that one breakout season. He's good, but not great. What's up with Alshon Aguilar and the team is in flux, and just with no Nick Foles back there, like, let's see what happens. Can't really be surprised if Wentz finishes as a top 5 QB, right? But you also can't be surprised if Wentz suffers a serious injury before he even plays 5, 6, 7 games and is out for the season. Just wouldn't surprise me. Next position, running backs. I always had Zeke as the RB1, even before the suspension news broke that he wouldn't be getting suspended. And I mean, I was worried about that, don't get me wrong, but that's how strongly I feel about Zeke. I think Saquon Barkley is the best running back in real life, but he's not in the ideal situation. He's on the Giants, a team that struggles to score touchdowns, that struggles to move the ball, doesn't have a really good O-line, and it's just not a good offense. Zeke, who's an extremely talented running back, I just think Saquon is better, is in a much better situation, has an O-line that can easily play as a top 3, top 5 O-line potential. Last year, the Cowboys O-line fell off a little bit, but this year they could get easily back on track, could even be the best O-line. And now that they got Amari Cooper, Dak has improved, the offense is clicking, they're making bigger plays, and on top of that, Zeke is catching the ball more. We're seeing this trend in workhorse running backs. Hey, if you came in the league and you weren't a great natural pass catcher, it's like, hey, you better learn this if you want to get paid. And Zeke has caught the ball a lot more. He's not like Saquon or Kamara or anything like that, but he has gotten much better, and that's just over 1 year, and he can take another step forward in 2019. So regardless of the format, Zeke's not getting suspended unless some new evidence pops up, some new testimonials, or someone else pulls out some cell phone footage. I don't know. Doesn't seem like he's getting suspended. So Zeke's my number 1. Saquon's my number 2. Kamara's a more special explanation because in non-PPR, he takes a pretty big hit. For a guy that's going to be getting 15 carries and 5 receptions a game, which is very good, he's special because he's never going to get a ton of carries. But he's used so much as a receiver, not just catching screen passes, but running legitimate wide receiver routes, and such a trustworthy target for Breeze. He's always going to be heavily involved in the pass game. You really have to put a cornerback out to guard this guy sometimes because a linebacker is just stupid, and unless you have one of the most talented safeties that can run with Kamara, even a safety is often a mismatch with this guy on pass plays. Also, Kamara, when he touches the ball, it's so hard to tackle him. He's so elusive. He seems to almost always make big plays. So that's why I got Kamara at number 3. No surprise, I got C-Mac at number 4. And then we have a bunch right here, very close between Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, and Joe Mixon. All of them have their pros and cons. And I think with Le'Veon Bell, what kind of sucks when I go on social media or I'm talking to people is they often bring the negatives. I always hear the negatives. He's been out of football a whole year. He's overweight. His O-line and offense isn't as good as it used to be. And those are all true. I don't know too much about the overweight thing. Is that really true? I don't know. We got to see how he's looking training camp. Then I'll know for sure, because I know he's been working out. But the positives with Le'Veon Bell, he has a year off football, which is also a positive because he's going to be fresh. You know, one of the reasons he didn't play last year that people kind of overlook, the man probably didn't want to be ran to the ground. He probably didn't want to carry the ball 400 times without a long-term contract. It kind of makes sense. So it could have been would you really be high on Bell if he carried the ball 400 times last year? No, people would make up another excuse. They just wouldn't like it anyway. So they'd say, oh, he carried the ball 400 times. Well, I'd rather have a guy take a year off and be completely fresh and then come in as a Jets. Like, he's still in his prime. He should be. He's not old yet. Should be good. And people forget just how much of a talent Le'Veon Bell is. Yeah, he's a great pass catcher. He can do the receiving stuff. He's patient. Yeah, sure. He's also very strong, has a great he has no weaknesses. He's that good. So don't forget how talented Le'Veon Bell is. Also, he's making the big bucks. The Jets are going to use him. It's not like, I mean, sure, the Jets aren't quite there to win a Super Bowl this year, but they're a good team. It'll probably be next year we see that big leap, but I don't think that's how they're viewing their own franchise. They're like, hey, man, we got some weapons. We went and got the quarterback we wanted. We got Le'Veon Bell. We have way more receivers. Our defense has a ton of potential. They just drafted Quinnen Williams, best defensive player in the draft probably. Could be the best player in the draft period. That guy is so talented. They're going for the Super Bowl this year. It doesn't, I mean, it's okay if you think I sound funny or other people sound funny. They're going for it. They're going to use Bell. There's no doubt about it. In the run game, in the pass game. David Johnson, love it with this new system. It's great. But the O-line's not so good. And they're going to be going with a lot of pass plays, a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. And Chase Edmonds is going to be sprinkled in there a little bit. And look, it's not bad. I'm still ranking him top 6. Like, I love, and you can rank him top 5. Like, it's really close. And then we have Joe Mixon, one of my favorite running backs. He's the complete package, absolute beast. I've worked with him. I filmed him. If you haven't seen that video, make sure you go check it out. There should be a card right here that pops up. Go check out that video. It's amazing. He is a natural receiver, great running back, and the offense he's on should be improved. They got bad luck, and Jonah Williams, the offensive lineman they drafted, is already injured, likely out for the year. It sucks, but they got AJ Green for now. I mean, hopefully he can stay healthy. And Mixon, man, he put the team on his back last year because defenses were gunning for him, and he proved himself. He hurt his knee. He had to get the knee scoped out. He was out on the sideline for a few weeks. Then he came back and just beasted, and they had no Eifert, no AJ Green a lot of games, and the O-line wasn't that good. I got a lot of faith in him. I think he is hands down easily worth a first-round pick. I thought that's a no-brainer. Only reason I'm saying that is because people are like, hey, I take him in round 2. No, you take him in round 1. Trust me, Joe Mixon is that good. And then moving on up, Damian Williams, had to rank him number 8 in PPR. There is risk with Damian Williams. He will be the starter. He will be the workhorse running back initially. Now, will he be able to keep that job? I believe so. I think he'll be the workhorse, full-time starter throughout the entire 2019 season. Beyond that, I'm not too sure. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of factors. So there is risk with him getting replaced or potentially a committee being installed. I don't really see a committee, but there is that risk there. He's not going to get a ton of carries, but the man could average 7 targets a game. We've seen this with the Andy Reid running back, all the way dating back to Brian Westbrook, Shady McCoy, Jamal Charles, Kareem Hunt, and now I think it's going to be Damian Williams. The man is actually better than Kareem Hunt in this offense. Kareem Hunt could run better wide receiver routes. That's the only pro. Other than that, Damian Williams is absolutely crushing it. He catches screen passes really well, and that's a staple in Andy Reid's offense. This KC offense likes to throw to the tight end and running back a lot. And man, Damian Williams, this is how I view him. You can get him in round 3 sometimes, maybe late round 2. We got him in early round 3. In the Throne League. He's essentially like a Kamara, a poor man's Kamara. He can put up the same stats Kamara could put up. More risk there, obviously. That's why he's not a top 3 pick. But 15 carries, 5 receptions per game, which is what Kamara's going to get, and have big plays, have touchdowns. That's Damian Williams right there. I would not be shocked if they had the same exact stat line. Pick number 3, you get Kamara. Damian Williams we got in round 3 and could put up Kamara-like stats. I love it. Number 9, Nick Chubb. Pretty controversial because we got Kareem Hunt coming back. And initially, I wasn't on the Nick Chubb train. And now, I mean, I'm not like, tooting the horn all the way on it, but I do see the appeal with Nick Chubb. Kareem Hunt is suspended 8 games. And that's not a small amount of games. So he will return week 9 because the Browns have a bye week, of course. So he returns week 9. He hasn't played football in how long when he comes back week 9? Like well over a year. Like he's going to be rusty. He might be not in football shape because he can't practice at the facility. He's not supposed to be practicing with the team. So he comes back week 9. He gets eased into the offense. And by then, so much is going to change. We always are thinking we're going to make the playoffs and whatnot. But the truth is, half the people watching this video, well, most of you guys are a little bit ahead of the game. I'll give you that. Let's say a good amount of people watching this video, maybe a third of people watching, 40% of people watching, maybe even half the people watching, not going to make playoffs. That's just a fact. It's just a statistic. It is what it is. And Nick Chubb's going to help you get in the playoffs. By the time you're in the fantasy playoffs, so much can happen. There's going to be so many injuries, so many waiver wire pickups you're going to add, trades being made. It's going to be hectic. I'm making this video in July, and we're talking about, like in November, let's say. It's just going to be a completely different landscape. And if I'm taking a guy that I have a lot of conviction with that's going to put in 8 to 10 games where he's going to absolutely beast, and even when Kareem Hunt comes back, he's still going to be startable, I'm going to take him, man. And I don't like taking Nick Chubb in round 1. Maybe not even as a top 15 pick, but he will fall to late round 2. And I'm not hating on taking him. If you go wide receiver in the first round and Nick Chubb somehow falls late round 2, and I'm telling you, in some drafts, he will fall to round 3. Super rare, but he can fall to round 3. Hey, I'm taking him. And what's cool about getting Nick Chubb, if you have more than 5 bench spots, like if you got a deep bench, most leagues have 7 bench spots or more, you can go get Kareem Hunt super late in a double-digit round as a handcuff. And I highly recommend going and getting Kareem Hunt if you do have Chubb. Don't reach for him, not anything like that, but you should be able to get him late in the draft. Number 10, I got Derrick Henry. And you can give Derrick Henry a boost in standard leagues, non-PPR leagues. You can rank him as high as number 8, actually. And this is why I like Derrick Henry around like number 8 in standard, and why I do have him ranked so high, period. It's because of his durability. I feel like guys that are within his range, around the same tier, whatever you want to call it, guys like Devontae Freeman, Marlon Mack, they're more injury prone. And I feel like Derrick Henry's way more durable. He's way more experienced, but never really was ran to the ground. Still has a lot of tread on those tires. And I really feel like he flipped that switch last year. Those last 4 games, he absolutely beasted. And the coaching staff recognized it. They're going to be using him this year. He's going to get a lot of carries, a lot of goal line opportunities, a lot of touchdowns. Yes, Marcus Mariota isn't the best quarterback, but he can lead the team to win. They have a really good team, really good offensive weapons. I know they can move the ball. They can score. Just Marcus Mariota, all he has to do is not turn the ball over, hand it off to Derrick Henry, Titans will be fine. There is some concern with Henry because we do know his floor. Also, he doesn't catch a ton of balls, not great in PPR, but that's how high I am on Derrick Henry. So I would recommend taking him in round 3. Unfortunately, his ADP rose just a little bit. As for rookie running backs go, Josh Jacobs is cool. He's in a good situation, but I like David Montgomery way more. I am a big believer in Matt Nagy, the Bears head coach, a big believer in the Bears offense. Bears O-line is really good, and Montgomery's pretty talented, man. I really think, I mean, like, what are your worries with Montgomery? I guess other than him being a rookie and being unproven, like, that's just not really a worry of mine. So I guess the only other worry would be some kind of committee, and I'm just really not that worried about it. I mean, 13, 14, 15, probably more like 16, 17 carries a game should be likely for Montgomery, and that's good enough for me. You get the man in round 4 a lot of times. Like, it's crazy. Or late round 3. So, David Montgomery, super sleeper. I have him ranked way higher than most. I think it'll catch on. We'll see in preseason. His ADP is going to rise for sure. He's ranked and drafted way too late. It's kind of crazy. I mean, guys, like, how often are you going to be able to get an RB1 or a high-end RB2? Like, they go off the board right away. So, David Montgomery in round 4, I think, is just nuts. Like, he's definitely a round 3 running back in fantasy. James Conner, I got ranked low because, look, I don't need to draft everybody. Look, I don't need to target Carson Wentz. That's cool. You go get him. I mean, I'll take him if he's super late, in a rare situation. That's fine. Like, we don't have to agree on every ranking. I don't have to rank every guy at a decent spot. Like, I don't need to draft Melvin Gordon. I don't need to draft James Conner. I'll be fine. My avoid list, do not draft list, isn't that long anyway, but James Conner is on it. I have him ranked 7 spots lower than everyone else, 7 spots lower on the ADP than everyone else. I'm just worried about a committee. And I really think Jalen Samuels is a great value draft pick. You can get him like in round 10. Go get him in a PPR league. Excellent pickup. James Conner beasted last year, sure. But, I mean, speaking of being unproven, I think James Conner is kind of unproven. I mean, he had 1 year. He got hurt. He had some bad games towards the end. I mean, I don't know. That offense is in flux with no AB this year. It's going to be a different look. And like I said, I really think Jalen Samuels is going to be involved in that offense. And maybe another running back sneaks in, making it a 3-head monster. You never know. Melvin Gordon, I'm avoiding. Look, I had the guy ranked RB11, and that was like the number 1 formal complaint that was filed against me. Why do you have Melvin Gordon at 11? And just a gut feeling, I don't like him. I mean, I can give you a bunch of stats that can argue my point, but that's really what it is. It's a gut feeling. There's Eckler behind him, who's a pretty good running back. Not great, but he's good at what he does and catching passes, and he's decent. He's solid. And then you have Justin Jackson, a guy with a lot of upside. He was a rookie, not quite polished, but in round 2 can easily take a step forward. And now that Melvin Gordon's holding out, I'm basically ranking him super, super low. I'm saying take Melvin Gordon in round 5, maybe round 4. I was already off the Melvin Gordon train. I would have drafted him like mid-round 2, but he never fall that far because people draft him around top 7 anyway. So he would never make it to mid-round 2 for me. So I had him outside my top 10. Now he's like outside my top 20. Not going to pick him. Just going to avoid him. And I don't even think the holdout's going to continue. I think he's going to hold out, but I think the Chargers will either sign him or trade him. And if I was the Chargers front office, I would trade him. Not because he's horrible, but just because I don't want to spend that money on Melvin Gordon. And I have Eckler and Justin Jackson. I can use Justin Jackson in about 2/3 of the snaps and Eckler in about 1/3 of the snaps and be just fine. I feel like it's going to be okay. I mean, Melvin Gordon, career average of 4.0 rush yards per game. That doesn't scream elite to me. He only had 1 year with more than 4 rush yards per game. Now, again, I'm not saying he sucks. Just saying I don't like him in fantasy. Not my gut feeling that he's going to be good. And then this holdout news came after that. I mean, he is a valuable asset to their team. He is a good receiver. He does get touchdowns. But that's it. And, hey, man, I'm avoiding James Conner. I'm avoiding Melvin Gordon. And, of course, I'm avoiding Todd Gurley. I don't want anything with that knee issue. I came out with a bunch of content with Todd Gurley. I think we know what the deal is. But just in short, you can watch those other videos and podcasts. But in short, best case scenario, Todd Gurley sees a decrease of 25% snaps and touches, and he remains healthy. Wishful thinking with that. Worst case scenario, he gets injured again, or he just completely falls off. Like, I'm not drafting a guy who can't even walk straight and is avoiding like training camp practices and not even going to play in the preseason. Just too many red flags. Todd Gurley, Melvin Gordon, James Conner. I avoid those 3 guys. No surprise here. I got DeAndre Hopkins as my number 1 wide receiver. I seem to always draft DeAndre Hopkins, and he's even being undervalued in some leagues this year. I've mock drafted him at 10 overall, at 12 overall sometimes, and that's just ludicrous. To be able to get him at 12 in a 12-team league, it doesn't even make any sense, but hey, it could happen, and some people rank Devontae Adams number 1. Don't have a problem with that. But hey, I'm drafting DeAndre Hopkins if he falls to the 12th spot. I got Juju at 4. I think he's going to be able to handle that number 1 wide receiver role. Not a huge Big Ben fan, but Big Ben doesn't suck. Like, he's still a great quarterback. He's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. Got a couple Super Bowl rings. Juju is going to be okay. Now, what people are saying, like, why do I have Julio ranked 6? Basically, same reason as Matt Ryan. Back in the day, Julio would miss a couple games. He'd be nicked up. He wouldn't score a lot of touchdowns. Is he going to be a decoy this week? Is he playing this week? Is he injured? He's taking time off practice to heal. So there was always a lot of question marks with Julio. I think he went, 7 weeks or something, didn't score a touchdown last year. Don't get me wrong, he's still good and he's going to be good. But I think we're going to see that decline in Julio in 2020. Maybe see just enough of a decline or see something happen to where Juju surpasses him. I'm always looking for the younger next talent. And Julio was that guy before with Roddy White. Julio was the next talent. But man, that was a few years ago. Now I think Juju surpasses him. And then we got Antonio Brown. I kind of skipped over him because he's number 5. Best wide receiver in the league. Like, when did it start to become a narrative that he wasn't? Like, I don't get this. Is it just because of last year? I mean, can't you give the man slack with 1 year? He did cause a little bit of drama. He was a little bit weird. But can't we just chalk that up? Like, can't you give him one pass? You can't give AB 1 pass. I mean, we give Julio a ton of passes. You can't give AB 1 pass because he's bleached his mustache? I don't get it. Can't you just say he didn't get along with his quarterback? It wasn't a good situation. Like, it's not like he had a terrible year last year. It's not like he fell off a cliff. So I just don't get this narrative. And I went to look at another wide receiver from the past that acted much more as a diva, that was way more of a drama queen, and was regarded way more as a cancer than AB, which was Terrell Owens. And when I looked at the stats, Terrell Owens beasted no matter who was his quarterback, whether Jeff Garcia or Donovan McNabb or Tony Romo. Terrell Owens still did pretty well. And you can argue that AB is a better wide receiver than Terrell Owens and less of a drama queen. And I know a lot of people that are friends with Derek Carr. He's extremely easy to get along with. He's a real good person. And I think he's not going to have no problems with AB. AB's got that work ethic, and I'd be comfortable taking him. Sure, there is risk. I'm also worried as well, but I'm not a guy who typically drafts scared. I do want to have some safe picks mixed in, with my upside and risky players, but I'm not afraid to take AB in the middle of round 2. He could fall late round 2 because people are so scared of AB. Don't get it twisted. AB still the best real life wide receiver in the game. Odell Beckham, man, I'm trying to rank him higher, but I can't. I mean, he'll be right there with Julio, but I just can't rank him higher because the man's barely played the last 2 years. I'm a 100% believer in Odell Beckham. I know he will absolutely beast. I can pretty much guarantee it if he's able to stay healthy. So my only real concern, I don't know what else other people's concerns are. I mean, going from Eli Manning to Baker Mayfield was like, just stop, doc. Like, it wasn't working. Maybe Eli and Odell had some chemistry and it was good the first couple years. But the last couple years, it wasn't good, man. And Eli Manning is not that good. Like, is he even top 20 quarterback right now? I don't think so, but Baker is. Baker's on the cusp of being elite. Baker's not elite yet. I mean, he broke some rookie quarterback records. That's pretty good. He's a very good quarterback. Baker should take a step forward, at least with the new supporting cast and him having this experience. He should easily get better this second year. And Odell Beckham, he's going to be great, going to make those big plays. Just worried if he can stay healthy. I think he will be. And I'll probably go interview some doctors and sports doctors about Odell Beckham's injury. From what it's looking like so far, not a huge injury concern, but just a little one. And hey, I finally did it. I ranked Diggs over Thielen. You can get Diggs in round 4, sometimes round 5. Please go take that. Instead of taking Thielen round 3, you can go get Diggs literally 12 spots after Thielen is going. So Thielen goes, let's say, late round 3. You can go get Diggs an entire round later for someone who's around the same value, I feel like. Just right around the same projections, around the same rankings as Thielen. Might as well go get Diggs. So I'm going to urge that. Don't get Thielen. Just draft Diggs a whole round later, especially if you went RBs early in the draft, or maybe you went with a tight end and now you really need a good wide receiver. Diggs is an amazing wide receiver too. What's the next complaint people had? Let's see. Kittle at 2. I think Kittle's the best real-life tight end, and he has even more room to improve. There's no way I can rank him ahead of Kelsey. Can't do that. With Pat Mahomes being such an amazing talent, Andy Reid, great offensive coach, Chiefs offense is flying. You can't rank him ahead of Kelsey. In Dynasty, I can, though. That's another story. I think Kittle is going to take another step forward. He still has more room to improve. He's made some mistakes last year, and now he might have a quarterback that's not a third-string quarterback throwing him the ball, meaning you're going to have a better quarterback. The Niners offense should score a lot more touchdowns, move the ball a lot better. I absolutely love Kittle. I highly recommend you look at him early round 3. Look, we reached and drafted him late round 2, but that was a different type of strategy. I'm calling it a reach. I'm saying I drafted him early. We did in the Throne League, but there was a reason behind that, and that was because we liked guys like Derrick Henry, Marlon Mack, Keenan Allen, and of course Damian Williams. And if you do the math, that's 4 players. We knew we were coming up 2 picks after, and we're having a tough time deciding. So I was like, look, let's just get Kittle right now. We'll have, at least 2 or 3 of those guys available to us when we pick at 3.02. So we took Kittle at 2.11. Zach Ertz's decline is coming. The emergence of Dallas Goedert is coming, if not already here. Now, maybe it might happen next year. And this is kind of the same thing with Julio, if I didn't say that before. Julio's decline is going to come within a year or 2. It might come, I don't really think necessarily it's coming this year, but we might see a little bit of a decline, maybe some inconsistency this year. Probably not. But with Ertz, I see it coming really soon, man. And even if we don't, just picture I always put myself in the shoes of the opposing defense, the team that's going up against the Eagles. Of course you're going to defend Ertz. That's their number 1 receiver. Who's defending Goedert, though? Nobody. It's going to be a mismatch every time. And I think Goedert's going to emerge his 3rd year, maybe even his 2nd year. This is his 2nd year. So I expect a slight decline from Ertz, maybe some inconsistencies. That's why I have him ranked as my number 3 tight end. He's still good. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bust or anything. But typically what I do, if I don't get Kelsey late in round 2, if I don't get Kittle early round 3, I'm probably going to be waiting on a tight end and going to get a tight end maybe round 7, 8, or even 9, around there. That's usually what I've been doing in mock drafts and in real drafts. And then we have some kind of special situation here. I got OJ Howard as my tight end 4, and I guess he's a little bit ahead, but sort of bunched in. And then we have, it's a really tight group. It's hard to separate and rank these guys, but I'll tell you why I ranked it like this. So OJ Howard 4, just kind of a no-brainer. He was so talented, then he got injured. He was doing so good, then he got hurt. But then after that, we got Jared Cook, Vance McDonald, Hunter Henry, Njoku, and Evan Ingram. And I had to rank Evan Ingram number 9, and this is why. Because he's on the worst offense with the worst quarterback. All those other quarterbacks are better. Drew Brees, Big Ben, Phillip Rivers, and Baker Mayfield. Evan Ingram was good, is kind of almost like a possession receiver. Like, he got targets, he got receptions, he can get yards, he can run, but the touchdowns may not be there. Going back to what I said, the Giants, they kind of struggled to light up the scoreboard the past few years, and I don't see that getting much better this year. I mean, they traded their best player away. Don't see them lighting up the scoreboard this year. And that's why I have Evan Ingram at 9. Very difficult to rank these. They're so close. So why do I have Jared Cook at number 5? Like I said, it's going to be that perfect fit. Drew Brees is going to get better because of him. Jared Cook is going to have a fun time. He's on a team that he knows can actually win a Super Bowl this year. And that's why I love Jared Cook. Njoku, I actually had him ranked number 9, but I moved him up the more film I've watched. Talk about a tight end that has a lot of room to improve. Njoku was terrible his first year, had some good performances, was a good target for Baker Mayfield. They developed some chemistry, and now in his third year, he really can take a step forward. He can be that third down conversion guy, a good target in that mid-range intermediate game, and hopefully get some touchdowns if you draft Njoku. So that's why I rank those tight ends like that. One tight end that I went way lower than everyone else was Eric Ebron. And how low do I have him? Oh my god, I have him so low. 5 spots below the expert consensus, 6 spots below ADP. I see a huge decline in Eric Ebron, a guy you cannot rely on, and I'm not like an Ebron hater, like just to be a hater. I had Andrew Luck and Ebron in both of them in two separate leagues, and they did very well for me. It was a great stack. It was awesome. I got Andrew Luck super late, and I got Ebron off waivers. It was amazing, man. But with Jack Doyle healthy for now, with Devin Funchess there, who's essentially another tight end, and they have another tight end, Mo Alley Cox, probably not going to do anything, but still, they got him. He's even scored a couple touchdowns here and there. And then, look, long list of weapons. We got Hines, who's an excellent receiver. Wilkins, he's basically irrelevant. Marlon Mack, he catches a couple balls. Pascal, Rogers, they just drafted Paris Campbell. They got T.Y. Hilton and Deion Kane, who tore his ACL, but it was really early on. So he has over a year to recover from that ACL. There's just too many weapons, and Andrew Luck is known for spreading the ball. That's why I'm ranking Eric Ebron so dang low. I know I felt like I had to apologize for that Eric Ebron. Look, I don't apologize, okay? Moving on to defenses, I got the Bears at number 1, and they are in a tier of their own. It's just amazing how some people don't see them as a number 1 defense. And when I say some people, I mean it's super, super rare, but I have seen on the internet people not ranking them number 1, whether it be in real life or fantasy, and it's just mind-boggling. This was a top 10 defense when the offense wasn't that great and they didn't have Khalil Mack. Now that they had Khalil Mack, and they still got Eddie Jackson, great secondary, great linebackers, great D-line, they got the whole shebang, they are going to be even better because Khalil Mack was just kind of thrown there. I mean, he went from holding out to chilling in his pool, to being on the couch, then to getting shipped off to Chicago from, flying all the way out there. He's learning the plays, he's learning the lingo, he's learning the defensive players' names, his teammates' names, but hey, I got to play. And so this year, he's got a whole offseason to gel, to learn more. The Bears defense is going to be amazing. I never reach for a defense, but this is one that I would reach a little bit. The problem is, in every single mock draft I do, except one, I think, and I've done a lot, everyone always reaches for the Bears D. So hopefully in some of my money leagues, actual drafts, I'm able to get the Bears D maybe in round 12 or something like that. I definitely would reach for the Bears a little bit. Like, I'm not going to get them round 9. Some people draft them round 8, round 9, round 10. I don't suggest reaching for a defense ever that early, because you can get a lot of good players right there. You can get a wide receiver 3. You get like N'Keal Harry or Metcalf right there. A great backup running back like a Jalen Samuels or Damian Harris or Darrell Henderson right there instead of the Bears D. Or even a tight end like Njoku could be going after the Bears D. And that's not good, man. You can't be doing that. Other defenses I'm not really reaching for. I think the Jaguars are the second best defense because now that they got Nick Foles, their defense is still strong. Foles Foles should help out. We've seen this plenty of times. Like, the defense got better for the Niners when they got Jimmy Garoppolo those last few games in 2017 season. And I think Nick Foles will help the Jaguars D. And they attacked their defense again during the draft. So they could be just as good as they were a few years ago when they were an elite defense. And the Ravens, a lot of people think they lost players and they're going to fall off. That's not the case. I think they will be just as good. I got them number 3. And another thing to look at when you're drafting a defense, because you may not be able to get one of these top 3 ones, is to look at who they play week 1, because hey, I'm gonna be streaming defenses. It's just the way it is in most of my leagues. And the Cowboys face the Giants week 1, so that's a good one. Broncos do face the Raiders. Raiders are going to be much improved, but I mean, that's not a bad one. If you get the Broncos, you know, second to last round, and you know, like as the 10th defense off the board, hey, that's pretty good. I also think 2 kind of sleeper defenses here are the Chargers and Colts. I think the Chargers, if they can stay healthy, they're a little bit soft in the middle, and Bosa was injured. You know, if they stay healthy and they kind of attack during the offseason to make that middle not as soft as it was, they could be a huge sleeper. I actually think the Chargers could be a lot better than the Rams this year if they stay healthy. And the Colts D, man, they could be really good as well. We saw them play very well down the stretch. And with kicker, not going to go into much detail, but draft the kicker in the very last round, guys. I mean, if you absolutely somehow like have to draft a kicker earlier, make it second to last. Like, don't draft a kicker till the last round, because all these reasons I've given you in all my videos, okay, it's so inconsistent. It's the least valuable position. It's the hardest to project. From week to week, it's the most inconsistent. It's hardest to project, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you've heard all that. I've said that many a times. But let me give you one more reason. If you do draft a guy like Greg Zuerlein or even Gostkowski or Justin Tucker, when you have a bye week, you're going to want to not drop Greg Zuerlein. And Greg Zuerlein's been hurt too. So now you're like, you know, having like 2 kickers on your team. And if you're in a league with less than 7 bench spots, that's going to actually hurt you, because you could be using that bench spot to go get a handcuff running back just in case something happens, or draft, you know, the next best waiver wire gem like a Phillip Lindsay or Eric Ebron or Damian Williams. There's waiver gems every year. So please, guys, draft a kicker with your last pick. For my updated rankings and top 300 printable list, make sure you check out fantasycouch.com/rankings. Like this video if you enjoyed it, dislike if you did not, and comment below if you agree with my rankings, disagree with them, what you would have done differently. Let me know. Make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really helps out a lot. You won't miss out on great fantasy football content like this. Subscribe to our second channel, Fantasy Couch Podcast. Make sure you watch all the other videos. YouTube's not really pushing them out, so make sure you watch them. I have a lot of good content on here, I think so. And I'll see you on the next video /live stream.